Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan, with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go to the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that.
Before we get started, keep this in mind. When a country turns its back on its own people, it slowly loses the very foundation it stands on. If you believe this nation should put its citizens first, take a moment to support the channel, like, subscribe, and share this message. Now settle in. Pour yourself a cup of coffee, sweet tea, or whatever helps you stay focused, because what I'm about to share isn't light conversation. It's serious, and it deserves your full attention. Stick with me until the end, because the reality many would rather avoid discussing may be the very thing that shapes this country's path forward.
Mr. Chair, earlier my colleague from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, asked the panel how many people here believe that child separation is an effective policy in deterrence. And no one on the panel raised their hand. I just wanted to note that for the record, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask a question from Professor Mukherjee. Is the United States violating or violated human rights agreements set by the United Nations in a family separation policy?
Yes. International law is clear that family unity should be prioritized.
So we, as members of the United Nations, signed on into an international human rights agreement saying very clearly that family separation is a violation of international human rights, and then we pursued a policy that violates human rights. You know, Mr. Chair, I was looking, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, you know, it dated back, family separation in the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, but I had to dig further. And our staff dug further. But where did this start within the administration? She implemented it. And we found a memo. It dates back to April 23rd of 2018, where there was an official recommendation to, quote, pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border, quote, illegally, even though this applied to legal asylum seekers in practice, including those presenting with a family unit between ports of entry in coordination with DOJ. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the congressional record.
What is the date on that?
It is the memorandum for the Secretary from Homeland Security.
Date.
April 23rd, 2018, subject increasing prosecutions of immigration violations.
Without objection.
And so I looked at this memo, and it seems like this is the source of it. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. It says here from yourself, Kevin Michalinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
Give it a...
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over, but I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation Of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommended zero tolerance.
which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan, with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review. Inspector General Costello, one last thing. Is there a record, based on reports throughout the year, and in our hearing earlier this year, we spoke with Ms. Juarez, a mother who lost her child due to inhumane conditions in the facilities. We learned that there is no accurate record and no policy being held of people who are pregnant and people who endure miscarriages. Is there a record of who enters and leaves these facilities?
I'm not familiar with the instance you're talking about, but I do believe the facilities keep custody logs and logs, but I'm not familiar with the incident you're talking about.
And where would we find those records?
I believe all the facilities keep them on site, CBP and ICE facilities.
And if you believe that the records are not accessible, or if we find that the records are not accessible, do you believe the committee should seek to request records from DHS on the location of children and those that are detained?
Well, we would never opine about what the committee would request and not request, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Presley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very proud to represent and to call.
What we just watched was another familiar display: strong emotions, dramatic language, and a carefully framed narrative. During the hearing, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez delivered a passionate critique, presenting the issue of family separation as though it stemmed from a hidden scheme rather than policies tied to existing immigration law. Let's step back for a moment. Entering the United States unlawfully is a violation of federal law. In most criminal proceedings, whether the charge is DUI, assault, or another offense, adults and minors are processed separately. Supporters of stricter enforcement argue that this is standard procedure, not an act designed to punish families, but a consequence of how the legal system functioned. During her exchange with former ICE Director Tom Homan, Ocasio-Cortez referenced internal memos to challenge the intent behind the zero-tolerance approach. Critics of her argument maintain that the policy was framed as a stricter application of laws already in place rather than a newly created mechanism for separation. From that perspective, enforcing immigration statutes is viewed as part of maintaining national sovereignty and border control. Another key point raised involved asylum claims. U.S. law allows individuals to seek asylum when they present themselves at designated ports of entry. However, debate arises over those who cross between ports and then request asylum afterward. Those favoring tougher enforcement contend that this distinction matters and that the current system is vulnerable to exploitation by cartels and smugglers who may use children as leverage to gain entry. Opponents of strict enforcement see humanitarian concerns as paramount, while supporters argue that weak enforcement contributes to disorder and empowers criminal networks. Meanwhile, cities that have adopted more lenient immigration policies often face criticism from those who believe such approaches fail to deter unlawful entry. At its core, the debate centers on a fundamental question: how should the United States balance compassion, legal consistency, and border security? For many Americans, enforcing immigration law is seen as both a right and a responsibility of a sovereign nation. For others, the moral implications of how enforcement is carried out demand greater scrutiny. What do you think? Can strong border enforcement and humanitarian protections coexist, or does prioritizing one inevitably undermine the other?